Hi, I'm Susan, I'm a textile artist. I'm working with Rig Arts in the Plastic Fantastic project. Today I'm going to show you how to turn some old things that you maybe have around your house, like an old duvet cover, maybe some old clothes, sheets, and we'll turn them into a cushion cover. So first of all, you need your fabric. 100% cotton is the best if you can. It washes better. If you're buying new fabric, then make sure you wash it first, but this is really about recycling something you've already got. In this case, it's a duvet cover, and I think this was a sheet, the pink one was a sheet. Things you also need is a sewing machine, which is preferable. It can be done by hand, but take you a long time. You need an iron, just a wee little ironing station to iron things. Spray starch is optional, but what it does is it helps stabilise the fabric and stops it stretching when you're cutting it, so you get it to be more accurate. When cutting the fabric, I have here a cutting board, a cutting mat, and a ruler and a rotary cutter. Again, these are optional. I will show you how to just cut it with ordinary scissors, but this is a very fast and accurate way of cutting your squares of fabric, or in this case we're cutting strips and then making them into squares. So for this design you really need a plain fabric and a patterned fabric so that it forms these like chains going across. In this one I've broken up the chains just by adding a border across the middle, and this one, the border, is actually going around the outside, and I've added a frill to this one. Both of these I've added ties at the back so you can tie them and make them into like a seat pad, or you can leave these off and just have it as a cushion for your sofa. Okay, we'll get started. Okay, so to cut the fabric, I'm going to show you the first step with the rotary cutter. So you line your fabric up with the lines on the board, and you've also got lines on your ruler, and you can just correspond them to the ones on the mat. Now, I'm cutting these strips 2.5 inches wide, or roughly 5 centimetres wide. If you're using a rotary cutter, be very careful, they are extremely sharp. This one has got a safety guard on it. You push it to open it, and that button closes it, okay? So anytime you're not using it and you lay it down, always press the button and face it away from you, okay? So I'm spreading my fingers on this ruler, that's just to try and stop it slipping. And you're not pushing sort of down with this or forward, it's kind of half and half, so quite a lot of pressure. The blade is right next to the ruler, and then that cuts a really nice clean strip of fabric, okay? You're going to need 3 plain strips at about 2.5 inches wide, 5 centimetres wide, and probably at least 15 inches long, which is about 38 centimetres. Okay, so I've got some pre-cut there, but we're going to have 3 of that. If you don't have all this, you can just mark on the back of your fabric a line. I've measured it already, so that's your 2.5 inches, and you can just cut it with normal scissors. A lot to do with patchwork is in the preparation, and this part has got to be as accurate as possible, or your squares won't meet up later on. Okay, so that's your 2 ways of cutting your fabric. Now, as I said, I've got some here that I've cut earlier. So I've got 1, 3 of the plain, and I've got 3 of my pattern. So we're going to line these up. Okay, so we've got 1 of the plain and right sides together, which is quite hard to tell in this because there's not an awful lot of colour, but that's my right side. So that's going down on top of that one. And now what I'm going to do is stitch down this side to join them together. Most sewing machines, if you keep this part of your fabric to that side of the presser foot, this thing here, then it will be roughly about 1/4 inch. but as long as you're consistent that every seam that you do, you stick to the same place so that every square will be the same size. Okay. Keep the two pieces of fabric even and keep them side by side and keep them level with the edge of the presser foot. Yeah, I'm just going to adjust that because it's gone off slightly. So that's me got two strips joined together. And now for this one I'm going to take the plain, and again there's no real right side or wrong side of this, but if you do have a right side, just make sure it's right sides together. And I'm going to do exactly the same with this one. So that's one set of strips done. Now I'm going to do the opposite way. So I've got a pattern and a plain and a pattern. So they're going in the alternate design. So again, putting these two together, right sides together. Make sure they're lined up. So we've now got the two sets of strips and the alternate designs. Okay, so now I've got to iron these flat. Right, so first of all, I'm just going to kind of iron it and press the seams away from you. I'm going to turn it over. And sometimes when you do that, you get a bit that hasn't actually ironed very well, so just make sure. And what I'm going to do now is add a bit of spray starch. As I say, when we're cutting these again, it will just help stabilise it all. It's not necessary, it just helps. Feel the difference in that now. This fabric's a lot stiffer, so it'll be easier to cut. Okay, I'm going to do the same. Just going to push those seam allowances away from me. Again, I'm going to use the mat and the rotary cutter, but if you don't have that, then you just mark it out, and on the back, mark it with a pencil and cut it with scissors. I'm just going to take a tiny bit off this end just to square it off. And then I'm using my ruler 2.5 inches again, or 5 centimetres, whichever one you're working with. Okay, I'm just going to keep doing that. You can see how much quicker it is using a rotary cutter and a mat if you can get hold of one. Right, so we've now got two piles of strips, smaller strips of the two different designs. So now we're going to make these into the blocks. This is made up of 4 different blocks which we again join together to make one larger square. So the first one is, you've got, say, pink on the outside for your plane, then your pattern, then your plane, and then you just do the opposite. So it'll be your pattern on the outside, your plane, and your pattern, and you just keep doing that with all of them. If you were making a large quilt rather than just a cushion, then again you would just continue to make all these squares in the alternate design. Okay? So we start to sew these together. So you're going to put your right sides together. Now with this one, I want to flip that one round, which I don't know if you can see that, but the seams where I've ironed it, that one is going that way and that one is going up the way. So when you put these together, they just sit nicely together, and it means that you get a really accurate seam. And also then when you come to iron that, the seams are going in the opposite directions, they lie flat. Okay, and now I'm just going to do the exact same things with these, is I'm going to sew my seam down these, just keeping it to the side of the presser foot, so that no matter what machine you're using, it will always be consistent if you just do that. This is where it can get confusing, so lay them out so that you're not just picking up pieces or you end up putting them in the wrong order. So that's the one that I want to join. It's always alternate for this pattern. Again, just get those seams to join up, which I need to turn that one to get them going the opposite way. So that's now me sewing all the strips together, and I've now got 4 squares. So there's 2 of those ones and 2 of the alternate design. So again now all we're going to do is sew these together. So that one together. And again just sew them with the same seam allowance. Okay, that's the bottom 2. So now these 2 are being joined together. So again, right sides together, flip it over on top, match it up. As I say, it may or may not, some of these seams may fit in the right way, others won't. Okay, and that's all 4 now joined together, so I'm going to iron this again. So it should look a bit like a chessboard. It's, you know, a checkerboard. It's like alternate squares of light and dark. With this one, because I'm using a white fabric, I'm going to cut off all these threads, because if you leave them, they'll shine through the white fabric and spoil. Now what I'm going to do is add this white border round it just to make the cushion bigger. This is sort of working on, this is a kind of 16-inch cushion pad that's inside. If you want a bigger cushion, you could still do this the same size, then add a larger border around it. So these strips, again, the right side of the fabric down onto the right side there. Now these are a bit longer, it doesn't matter, I'll just cut off the excess. So just putting it down one edge. Again, just adjust it as you're going down to keep your seam even. Okay, so that's sewn to the end of that row. So all I'm going to do is just cut off that bit that I don't need, just level with the squares. Now I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. So right sides together. So these are about 3 inches wide, which is, if I look at it again, about 8 centimetres. And what I've done with the strips is I've joined them into one long strip. And I'm just going to add one more piece on that's the same width. If you want to work out how much you need, you're going to need, if you work out the 4 edges and add them all together, you're going to need double that. So this should be roughly 16 inches. So that's like 64 inches that you're going to need at least. Okay. We've now got this really long piece that we can add round the edge as a frill. What I'm going to do is just pleat it at the same time straight onto the cushion front. So make sure your seam is in the inside so you can't see it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a little bit without any gathering, because when I come back round to the end, I want to be able to join these 2 bits of fabric together. So if you want, you can pin this. And again, just the same as we've been doing, you're just going to like this. So to pleat it, I'm just going to fold the fabric over with my finger and lay it flat, and then just stitch over that bit that I've just folded, and then do the same again. Just fold it over with my finger, lay it flat, and stitch it down. When it comes to the corner, I'm going to again fold it, but I'm going to press the corner flat into it. Keep the needle down, turn everything round the corner a little bit, and then you're ready to start your next pleat down the next side. So I've left that extra fabric there, and just cut that to there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to take those stitches out. So what I'm going to do is make sure that you've got the right bits together. I'm going to sew these together here. And that bit you just pleat in the same way as you've done everywhere else. Again, I'm going to cut off any of those pink threads that I see. Right, okay. So that's the front more or less finished. If you want to put ties on, in this case this is just some ribbon. I'm just going to cut this in half. easiest way is just to tie a knot in each end, just to stop it from fraying. You can just cut off the excess. Or you could put a bit of PVA glue on the end as well, just to stop it fraying. Right, so I'm going to find the middle, and that gets attached to one of the corners. I'm just going to pin that in place. And do the same with the other corner. I'm just going to sew them down. Straight across that corner. That's the front finished. So the back. So you need 2 pieces of fabric. So it needs to be the same width, but each one is over half. It's about 3/4 of the way up. You can see that there. Okay. So we'll be sewing that one on there, and then that one on there, so that they overlap like an envelope. But the edges that you're going to see, I'm just going to iron them down first and then stitch them down. So put the right side down. So I'm just going to take it in, it's maybe just a centimetre. And iron that down, and just do the same again. I'm just going to fold that in again, and that just gets rid of that raw edge. Okay, and just exactly the same with this one. Now, I've got this kind of cerise pink in. I'm just going to leave it in so that it'll be a kind of contrast stitching, or you could do it the white, you could pick the turquoise, the kind of lime green, any colour you want. Now this time it's not level with the presser foot. I'm actually sewing close to this edge here where it's been ironed. Okay, so that's them both done. Right. If you have put ties on, then make sure they're facing inside. Okay, so line them flat inside. Probably need some pins for this. So one piece, you've got your right side of your fabric goes down, and one of the seams that you've just made goes towards the middle. But as I say, it'll be slightly past middle. And you're just going to line this up and pin it. Now we're going to do the same with this bit. Okay, so the right side goes down, and you see the seam going towards the middle. And again, I'm just going to pin the corners. There. So that's the kind of the whole back of the cushion, and I'm now just going to sew around the whole thing. This is me coming back up to the last corner, and I'm just making sure that the ties are not going to be sewn down. I've just done a few back stitches there to lock the stitches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a zigzag stitch, and I'm just going to go around the outside with a zigzag just to stop it fraying. there's just a little bit of excess fabric on this side. If you have an overlocker, then just overlock this edge much faster. This just stops everything from fraying. So we'll just make it a bit wider. Okay. Right. Now I can just turn the envelope outside in. This is a 16-inch cushion. If you want it to look really plump, then I'd say you always go for the bigger cushion to the cushion cover. So maybe an 18-inch cushion pad is better than a 16-inch cushion cover. Then that envelope, that bit that overlaps on itself, just keeps the cushion in. Okay. So in this case you could probably use either side of it, but the front, and then you can just tie it onto a chair.